record this computer.
No.
And Terry, just so you know,
Right.
there's in the room here. Fellows.
There's how many? Great. So before we get started, was anyone particularly concerned or worried about anything as you think about taking on this role? We'll address some of those concerns as we go along, but are you feeling confident up front or any worries?
Worries.
I think it's one for me, it depends on who I might be calling on. That's a concern for me, whether about that. Who I might be calling.
Okay. So Dan, who's making the assignments?
Well, Mark and I are going to make the assignments for the leadership gifts side, and
I'm working on the list with Frank right now, and he's going to put that together, and then I'm going to mark the different categories that you created as far as attenders and givers. And then once that's together, my intention was to meet with Mark and Dan, and then also include Scott and Kirsten, so that we could break it out into leadership and the congregation, and then also thin out people who might just get a third category, a letter. I don't know. I'm throwing that out as a question mark, but that was my intention.
Yeah, that's great. So you're probably not going to be asked to visit a stranger. These are all your fellow members and friends of the congregation, people who are involved in the life of the congregation. You may know them really well or only see them on Sundays, but no one that you're visiting will be a stranger. So take some confidence in that, this is not someone you don't know.
And Terry,
Any other concerns?
Can I just get clarification around when we are meeting with members of the congregation? As stewards, we're not there to necessarily ask for a specific dollar amount. Is that correct? We'll have the sheet with the percentages and the ranges and stuff like that. I see this very much as an encouraging conversation with a friend. A lot of people have, and I think that was part of the issue when we were asking people to become stewards, is that will I have to ask someone for a specific dollar amount? And I think that people get a little queasy around that.
Yes, understandably so. It's the church, and we don't often talk about people's money. So
Right.
You're right. You will not be asking for a specific amount. You will take the chart of giving, which you will become familiar with today, and talk about the need and the categories of giving that are needed to reach the goal. And before you visit, you will have made your own pledge. And so you are visiting them to invite them to join you in prayerfully supporting the capital campaign. And they decide how much they can afford to give, how much they want to give, and you just collect the pledge card.
Do we collect it, or is it turned in on dedication Sunday?
Well, for the leadership phase, we want the steward to collect the pledge card so that we have that tabulation for the kickoff.
Okay.
I would say, Terry, this is Dan, that can probably happen in two ways. If I go into a meeting, they know they may have participated in some of this dialogue. They know already, they talked about it, that they're ready to go. I'm going to take it if they're ready to give it. Otherwise, I would just want it in hand before, I'm going to say a couple days before the 15th of March, because we are going to look to tabulate the leadership gift phase and announce it on March 15th at the congregational brunch.
Yes. So ideally, you would collect the pledge card the day that you visit, because they know you're coming, they know why you're coming, they have thought about their pledge probably and the amount that they are able and willing to give. And so they're probably able to fill out their card while you're there, put it in an envelope and hand it to you. If they're not, the next best is to say, what if I come back on Friday and pick up your pledge card, give you a few days to think about it, and I can pick it up on Friday. How does that sound? And if they're still reluctant, then you're probably not going to get a pledge from them, and uh, and you should ask if they would bring their pledge card in when they're ready, or bring it in at dedication. But we'd like you to collect the pledge card if you can the day that you make your visit, or a few days after that.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's unlikely they're going to pledge.
Great. But for the congregational side, it's really, you wouldn't even look for the steward to take the pledge at that point, right? We would not.
That's right. The congregational stewards can invite them to make their pledge on dedication Sunday.
Can you go over what the categories are, please?
Sure. So there are 4 phases to a campaign. The first is preparation, and that's where we are right now. We've done a lot of work, the feasibility study. We've had the survey out there until a few more days. This training is part of preparation. The committee has done a lot to clarify the goals and thought about how to interpret those and to make that into materials that you can hand to the members. And so preparation is a big part of getting organized to start. The leadership phase is the second phase. And in that phase, we're looking for gifts of $10,000 or more. And in our case, we're looking for gifts between $10,000 and $50,000. We expect that that phase of the campaign will get pledges equal to around 75 or 80% of the campaign goal. So the bulk of the campaign will come from those major gifts of $10,000 or more. Then the third phase is the congregational phase, and that's when we invite every member and friend of the congregation to participate by pledging a gift that is a percentage of their income. So you'll have a different chart, a different giving chart for the congregational stewards that shows what is a 3% gift to the campaign based on my income. And they can look at the chart and figure out, okay, I make this much, so 3% is that. What does that look like? And we're asking members of the congregational phase to commit to 3% for 3 years. And that's the ask there. So that's a different ask than $10,000 or more. So it's a different chart. And then that will conclude with the celebration Sunday where we count all the pledges and see where we are. And after that is follow-up and fulfillment. So there are some people we've missed who haven't turned in a pledge card. We're going to follow up with them and make sure that uh, they intend to turn in a pledge or they don't, but we know what their status is. And then we're going to report to them regularly over the course of the 3 years about where we are in collecting their pledge, how they're doing, and thanking them for their donations. And that'll last for 3 years. And that's the end of the campaign.
So Terry, when we are visiting with the congregational members, you mentioned a 3% ask. Can it be 3%
Yes.
more? Can it be phrased that way? We're looking, for people to give 3% or more of their income. What's your
You
experience?
can ask for 3% or more, or some folks will say, I can't do 3, but I can do 2. But our ask is 3%.
Or is our ask 3% or 3% or more? That's my question.
We're asking for 3%.
Okay.
They can do more if they like, or less.
Is the 3% for 1 year? 3% over the 3?
3% per year for 3 years.
Thank you.
So if somebody made $50,000 a year, the 3% is going to be, $1,500.
$1,500.
Free would be a $4,500 pledge, right?
That's right. Yes.
Great.
Terry, have you gotten back the many of the surveys that have been put out
I
there?
haven't looked since the middle of the week, but we had 20 some, I think, the last time I checked. How many are you expecting, Mark?
And what did we send out? Were there about 40?
Anne?
40 some? 40 some?
Whatever the mailing list was.
Yeah.
I think there was like 200 I sent out, but I wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got 20, that's great. If we get 30, that's better. I had said by Sunday. I could send out a reminder today.
I think that
The
would,
Greco Helms, you should have gotten 4.
Okay, so there's 4 of them right there.
I think a reminder would be,
Okay, I'll send out a
today
reminder.
would be a good day for people to work on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
assuming their furnace is working.
So Terry, from what you've gotten back so far, have you been able to glean any conclusions from what you have received back?
I haven't noticed any surprises based on the interviews that we've already done. I think you've done a good job of educating with the uh, coffee information session, and we talked to a lot of people during the interviews. So I think word's getting out and people are pretty well informed, which is
Do you-
great.
Would you think that at this point that people in the congregation have some idea of what they want to contribute, that they have enough information to formulate a decision as to what they're going to give at this point?
I don't know if they have yet enough information. They have some information. Some folks are going to want to know more about the project, and some folks are going to want to know more about the chart of giving and how do we get to 550, and seeing the chart and making sense of that to say, here's how we get there, helps people to say, oh yeah, we can do this. So if they have any doubt about whether every gift counts or whether the goal is achievable, seeing the chart sort of alleviates some of those concerns. It may also challenge them to stretch a little further than they had originally thought because the gifts are needed to meet the goal.
Did everybody receive a copy of the case statement?
Yes,
Yes.
Or you sent it out? I don't even remember. I don't recall.
it was sent out with the survey, so they had to click the email and open it. Was it any place else that we've sent it?
So it was included, I mean, so people would have access to it via the survey, is that? Am I
Yes.
understanding correctly? So not separately, like say in a weekly blurb or something?
No, not that I remember.
Anybody
Anybody
yeah.
remember?
But I would like to clarify with Terry what his thoughts are. In the leadership phase, I see us, every steward, handing a little packet of information with a letter, with the case statement. There's a great question Q&A type FAQ sheet. Materials like that I see us giving out right then.
Yes.
And I just don't know if we do the same thing for the congregational side or not. If it would be helpful, where we're handing them something.
Yeah, so you'll want to hand
Because-
everyone information
Where
that
I'm
they can
going with
look
this,
at.
I would want to be able to say very clearly that everybody,
Yeah.
basically everybody has received it directly, and if they receive it twice, that's fine too, but I would want to make sure that we
Yeah.
can, that everybody's gotten sort of a full set. I don't want to overload them, but those 3-4 inserts, I think it's going to be important to be able to do that.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason, Terry, why I'm saying for the leadership phase, I'm hoping that they will actually read that and then
Right.
Up their pledge even further. But we'll see how that goes.
Does everyone have a copy of the chart of giving?
I don't think we have it here.
No.
We have electronic versions, but that's not in our hands right now.
What do we need?
The chart of giving.
The chart of giving.
I mean, it exists, but
Yes, from your email, right, Terry, the chart of giving.
Yes.
We have that, and it's going to be included in a letter that Pastor Mike has put together that would go in the packet. And these things have not been created because somebody has been doing other things. But it will be
Yeah.
ready.
They all exist, they're just not here in the room, Terry, I guess was what I was saying.
Sure. You'll want to spend some time getting familiar with the chart of giving. If there are questions about how do we achieve this goal, you want to be able to show from the chart of giving the plan for how to get there. It's a financial roadmap to get to the goal, and it helps people to understand the size of gifts needed.
That will go to the leadership, the chart of giving. Is that something else that's also included for the congregation too? That chart of giving?
Generally not, because it's really meant to demonstrate the major gifts
Right.
portion of the
Okay.
campaign.
That's what I thought. Okay. So then the congregation would get this 3%.
3%
Yeah,
with,
which we also have
With-
an example.
with an example
Yeah,
of what that would mean over
yes,
3 years.
right.
Yeah. You got it.
And these materials are to come. They will be ready in hand. I meant to have stuff ready, but it didn't happen. I made scones instead.
Better choice. Better choice. I like, that's your priorities.
If they're hangry, they're not gonna pledge anything if they're hangry.
We appreciate scones and tea and coffee.
Well, I heard great things when I was there talking to individuals about the congregation and their support of the church. People give for all sorts of reasons, but the interviews revealed really a deep appreciation for the congregation and optimism about its future and what's happening there right now. There was a lot of energy around the 90th anniversary and around the installation of Pastor Micah as pastor, and some really positive feelings about how the health of the congregation is and its future. So I think it's wise to begin your conversations with potential givers and to talk about your time as a member of Deerhurst and what you like about the church, what you remember positively, and what the church means to you, and to give them an opportunity to talk about that from their perspective as well. So you'll want to think about those questions for yourself and how you want to talk about those. You don't have to talk long about it, but to be able to express those sorts of feelings of appreciation and love of the congregation and the members and the fond memories you have of events there and events in your life that involve the church and what all that means to you, because that helps build the sense of support for the congregation and reminds them of why the church is important to them and why they might want to participate in this project. But first, be able to answer those questions yourself and invite them to talk about it as well. Anyone want to share any of those stories or those things about the church that you love? Things you're feeling positive about?
Talked to Colleen Casmer. She's a longtime member. Today we had coffee, and she was talking about it being a particularly hard time in her life when she decided to go looking for the right church for her with her good friend Myra, who's also a longtime member. And Myra was also going through some things at that time. And that being, something they did together, they had actually been in school together in fifth grade over in Springville. So they reconnected at this point in their life and found Deerhurst. And Colleen was talking about, I think this was when the Fortses were here, and what a welcoming atmosphere it was, and that Joanne Collins walked right up to them and said hello, and Janice Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
And that stood out in her memory now over 30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
The welcome they felt. So I get to hear a lot of stories like this just in my first year and a half here.
Terry, I'm looking at Mark, and Mark is beaming. And I think about what brought us to Deerhurst was that we were looking for a place to be married, but what captured us was not only the congregation and the people, but the music program. And that's still very much a big piece of how we worship here.
Yeah. First Sunday I came here, the children's choir just kind of won us over. They were really good. Is a very large children's choir under the direction.
Is one of them sitting right here?
Yeah. And I was surprised at how good that they were, but they had great leadership too at the time.
Right.
And I played piano, and I said, I want to be a part of this.
And he did.
And I did.
Right.
They let me play accompany them. I got to do that at some point. And the voices of children, that won me over, right there. And Phil Siddons was a minister then, and he gave very provocative sermons he gave. And there was another. Yeah, they grabbed us right away. Mm-hmm.
Well, think of your role as sharing good news, the good news that you've experienced at the congregation, the good news of the Deerhurst community and what it's meant to people's lives. That's a different task than asking for a donation. It's reminding people why they're part of the church and why they want to support it in the future to make it available and healthy for the next 90 years.
So Terry, this group is the visiting stewards, most of them anyways, and they would not have received the feasibility study, the work that you did after your visits. I would like these folks to understand sort of your main messages coming out of there, because I think it's important context for everybody in the room. And so if you could comment on that specifically, and I'll just share with the room, I think your professional opinion was that getting to 550 was going to be a challenge. And so, I view that as an important data point for us to understand. I'm still very bullish on getting to 550. I think a number of us are. And that's sort of the goal. That's the challenge, right? But it is not a slam dunk. We don't have, I would say we have a path to get to 550 without a doubt. It's not a slam dunk. And so when people say, do you really need this? Yeah, we would really we could really use the assistance. And so if you just could comment on your findings.
I'm typically very optimistic and certainly hopeful for congregations when they enter these projects that they're going to succeed. I do tend to lean towards caution that it's a big goal. It's been a long time since the church has done a campaign. To rally behind such a big goal is a challenge. It is stretching the congregation to get there at this point, but it's possible to get there. The chart of giving demonstrates a roadmap to get there, and but the good thing about the interviews and the preliminary report was that I heard so much about the joyful worship and preaching and fabulous music. I heard how welcoming the congregation is, that it extends a gracious invitation to the community and to its members. I heard about curious disciples who are interested in learning and studying and praying together and knowing more about the good news. I heard about sacrifice and service and generosity, that the church is community minded and hoping to engage more with the community. And I heard that Deerhurst is a family that has a lot of caring connections to previous generations and generations to come. and that that gives me a lot of hope that people will, if they're invited, step up and meet the goal of 550 and get us there. Because there was no one who didn't say they didn't care for the church or its direction or its people. They all came in with really deep commitments to the congregation that I think will find their expression in their donations and their pledges.
Great, thank you.
And just remember, you're inviting them to join you in supporting the campaign. You're making a generous pledge, and you're inviting them to join you in that, and that it takes the whole church to get there. And so you're starting the ball rolling, but you want to invite them to participate with you.
I like the phrasing that Terry's using in a bunch of different ways. You know, please join me in giving, making a generous gift. Those are not crazy asks. That's just good phrasing, I would say. And there's a lot of good phrasing in the pamphlet, the booklet here. And so I would encourage all of us to use the same kind of phrasing that Terry is, because you've done this before, right? I mean, this is your, I don't want to say your 10th rodeo or your 20th rodeo, but you've probably done this a lot. Learn from it.
A lot of rodeos.
The best practices that you've seen over the years, and that's really what we have gotten, and we look to continue to get from Terry.
Yeah, it's certainly a best practice to invite people to join you. It's testimony to your own commitment, and it's what the church does. We join hands together to accomplish our mission, and we can't do it alone. The other thing you'll probably get questions about is what exactly the funds are being used for. And I think Mark is prepared to speak to that, about what the projects are and what they do.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's interesting. The Buildings and Grounds Committee has been working on. First of all, we've recognized this for many years. It's probably 5, 7, 10 years we've recognized issues. And in that period of time, we have done things. We've done things that might be considered patch up, and some of them permanent patch up jobs and that type of thing. So we've had several projects. But that said, though, we recognize that the problems have become more acute, as we witnessed a couple weeks ago when there was an ice dam up in one of the gutters there, and there's some water coming in. So it's very evident. And so my job really has been, I've been doing the Buildings and Grounds as its chair now for a year and a half or so. Has really been talking a lot to contractors with our Buildings and Grounds team, whose collective knowledge of this building is tremendous. I mean, they still are looking at, we still have the original blueprints of this building that they pull out every so often. They put them on the table, and God love them. I mean, I can't read the darn things, but they can. So it's amazing that, we're very fortunate to have these very learned people, who have such history about this building and love of this church and congregation. And, they just, for me, they've been great helpers and counselors with me. So my job really has been to kind of work with them and talking to the various contractors. And in this case, it's ongoing. It hasn't really stopped. This coming week, I'll be meeting with a utility company. I'll be working with National Grid on Tuesday, because we've identified a problem even before all this has started. And 2 of our masons have brought it to my attention just recently. So now National Grid's in on this, and we have to kind of problem solve with that, because we can't put up our scaffolding and until we take care of some of this, the electrical utility out there. So, and my dad was a construction guy, and I realized full well that construction is never a clean line. There's constantly curves being thrown at you in this realm, that type of thing. So we deal it as it comes, and you know, I think we're pretty undaunted. We want to see this project through. We want it to do it right. We've talked to manufacturers of the materials that we're going to be using, and fortunately, all of our contractors have they've updated their quotes. They've been attentive to our needs, and we've kept in touch with them, you know, and they're willing to speak to the congregation anytime, if, you know, during this process, as we get closer to determining our materials, our actual materials that we're going to put up in the roof, because that is still somewhat of a question mark. It's all really based on how we do with our capital campaign. And we have a priority list of things that we want to accomplish. Yes, Ann?
I think you're doing a great job, and you're mired in a lot of details. You have to remember, these are the stewards that are going out that are not on B&G. And so what Mark was talking about was the masonry on the bell tower. And now all of a sudden they discovered that they need scaffolding, and the scaffolding can't go up because the electrical wires are too close.
Live wire.
So he has to, there's lots of little details he's explaining. But the bell tower is going to need to, the brickwork's going to need to be redone to make that secure. All of the roofing, but in particular, the slate roof needs to be replaced. And the goal is to move to metal, right? Is that what?
That would be the
Ideal.
consensus.
And then
Ideally, that would be the
replace
consensus.
The asphalt with the asphalt, so that we get new slate roofs on the main sanctuaries. And then replace the newer section, like above here, would be asphalt. Stick with it. It wasn't showing as much wear and tear as the slate was.
And with our campaign goal,
Yeah.
we think that that is doable. That is the model we think is
Yeah,
doable.
with the 550.
With the
goal.
550 metal roof, and over the Deerhurst 2000 project asphalt as it is now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyways, I'm trying to have him simplify it down because there's so many pieces in it, but it was kind of exciting this week when I got him and B&G to pinpoint and say, we really would like to have a metal roof where the slate is. And if we can, you know, and really find to stick with the asphalt where the asphalt is. So,
And the metal roof is a 2-generation roof. So we wouldn't have to worry about
Yeah.
it for 50 years, which will definitely be beyond my.
blessing. Right.
It'll be the last roof I ever did. Unless I make it to 125 years.
Yeah. And then,
So we're gonna have a summary of all this.
yes,
But
yes.
you wouldn't bet against it.
I'm working with Frank, and we're gonna put down Mark and B&G and have some, like another fact sheet or a brochure, hopefully,
Yeah.
that outlines and has some of those pictures that you might have seen if you came to the Q&A that just show where the roof really needs repair. We don't know which contractor we're going to use. He doesn't know that yet. So it's sort of hard to get an ask to say, what would the roof look like? You know, the church look like with that new picture, you know, it's hard to go to a vendor.
As we get closer, we will be able to model it.
Yes.
As we choose the material that we
Yes.
want, we'll be able to superimpose
But I don't think we'll
the
have
actual
that
material,
for
but that's still a bit down the line. And at some point, yeah, we'll be able to kind of show the congregation, this is, give a representation of.
Are there, Sandy, somebody else?
Well,
have
I was just
questions?
gonna, so there, instead of it being all one kind of roof, it sounds like there will be part that would be metal, part that's gonna be slate.
Yeah, as we have now, we have a hybrid roof,
So I don't.
Part metal, part asphalt.
asphalt.
Yeah, that's like.
So,
Yeah, asphalt,
asphalt.
which is
Right.
which we have right now.
But visibly, you don't see
You
it.
won't
Like
see
you'd
it.
have to walk up, is this Stillwell?
You have to go on Stillwell.
And
to
then,
see
and then
it.
you can see the asphalt, but it's like,
multiple kinds.
Two-
At least two kinds.
Well, you're right,
And
Tammy, actually, because
multiple layers.
actually there'll be a rubber roof too,
Dan
there's
has pictures of the roof and the pointing that needs to be done on the
I
tower.
just showed Sandy,
That might be
but that, I mean, that's our,
as a steward, a visual, you know,
And all
you're
this is gonna
sitting
be
down with
information
Especially if someone
brochures
is
we're gonna
interested
give
in this
to
piece of.
Yes.
The leaders. The
Yeah.
leaders.
These are ones that we
I-
could get
Okay.
shared out if you have a,
Cold, I don't know.
you know, an
Yeah,
iPad or something.
yeah.
I was gonna.
It's
Yeah.
kind of good person. There's gonna be somebody who's interested in that, someone else that wants to talk about mission.
Right,
You know.
right.
Yes, and so now, Micah, you brought up the other piece of it that we're really excited about as well, is incorporating an element of mission. And mission committee is really working hard to find what is relevant to Deerhurst. And so they can't give us an exact solid answer, but Micah, would you like to say you're gonna be part of the committee in any way, shape, or form?
Sure, we have a mission committee meeting tomorrow morning, and then I'm gonna share with the capital campaign tomorrow afternoon. But I've been busy. I met with the director, Jessica Nowak at Mills on Wheels, and we talked about the close to 50-year history Deerhurst has of connection there. Of course, our beloved Ron Friend being there basically at the birth of the Kenton Mills on Wheels. So we have roots there, and they are very interested in putting forward grant request, asking for some of the funding, which we're asking them to send to the mission committee. I also met with the Blessings in the Backpack ministry going on at the United Methodist Church, where every time I'm there, I run into 4 or 5 of our members. There's really been a Deerhurst collaboration. So the mission committee has looked at several others. We're really looking for mission projects and programs that we already have roots and relationships in. We think that makes a lot of sense for where this funding would go, as well as we're in conversation with some ideas of Deerhurst internal mission that we could make an argument where the funding could go for programming that we develop and create here. So we're throwing around some ideas, and we'll have more to share tomorrow after we meet tomorrow morning with the committee.
Any other questions on either the building project or the mission that you want to get out there ahead of time?
From the standpoint of Alice and Sandy, I think that we are from the congregational ask standpoint. Sometimes there are visual learners, and people like to see
Yes.
if that question does come up, what's the money going to be going for? Sometimes when you see the roof, like Dan has pictures here, that's incredibly helpful. So we'll try and get as much of those visual
Sure.
materials to the people that are the stewards that are going out to talk to.
We, each of us has an individual way of how we best receive information, and a lot of us are really visual.
Yeah.
Some of it, and I think that will be.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
Because we're not, I couldn't, somebody said, well, what kind of roof do we have? And I said, I've been here a long time. I don't know.
When Dan showed me these pictures, I didn't realize it was in the condition that it was. So it's in dire need of repair.
So what kind of roof do you think we should get?
Yeah.
I saw that picture.
I think a visual would really be helpful.
Okay, yeah.
It would be very helpful
Underground
to
coffee.
me.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that way, if I was to show this in the conversation with
Right.
someone,
Right, they say
I would be so into that.
then
Yeah.
they
Visual,
can see
yeah.
what the money is going for, absolutely, or in part anyway.
It's the VA thing, like, oh, yes, we need a new roof.
Yeah.
I have a question because like Dan has his iPad there and it's so readily available. Some people I pictured would need printed materials because they wouldn't want to bring a longer tag along. And what is the reception here of your preference of how you would want to share materials and information?
The paperwork.
What's that?
Have the paperwork.
You want the
I think
paperwork?
we should have something to leave with.
Something
Yeah.
to read.
Yes.
Okay, because
But
And
do
that's
like
a
for, I
copy
can
of
put
the-
something up on my iPad and that would be great and I'm very comfortable with doing
Yes.
that. Not everybody is.
but you still need the
We
reminder.
still need the
Okay.
paper to
Something to
leave.
leave behind.
Okay.
Right, I agree, let have the papers to
Right.
say, here it is, I'm gonna leave this with you, look at it. Get your glass of wine out, or are we having wine now?
Joanne in the back, you're being very quiet.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the scones, no.
Is there anything you'd like to add? I don't want to, but if there is, I'd like to hear. We would.
No, just I think the printed material, we don't
Okay.
have a great, and we don't have an iPad to take around with us, and
Yep.
so like at certain, like I know Nan Miller doesn't have Wi-Fi,
Right.
and
That's
not that
exactly.
that couldn't be overcome, but I like the idea of having something physical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even
And I think too that like Terry had mentioned, it's gonna be important to not only for us to share what our feelings are about Deerhurst and what our commitment is to this campaign, but to get them talking too. This is a conversation over coffee, you know,
Yeah.
and I
Wine.
particularly try not to get too salesy about it
Yeah.
because nobody likes to be sold.
We're not
You
the
know,
silver brush people.
This is a conversation, but there will come a point when you have to say, here's the chart that we're working with,
Mhm.
and here's the percentages that we're hoping to get.
And this,
And if you can, you know, 3% is our goal, but if you can give more, you know, we would absolutely love that.
so I don't know if this would work for everybody, but Mark reminded me I'm doing tomorrow's minute for mission. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, by the way.
But I've been taking notes and thinking about, and I think because tomorrow is supposed to be an introduction and the heartstrings emotional thing, my question is, why Deerhurst? And so that might be a good way to start a conversation when we meet with people over wine or coffee or scones or whatever it is. Why Deerhurst? What
Mhm.
makes, why Deerhurst? And how can we make Deerhurst viable for the next generation?
Yeah, we're planting the tree that we might not be able to share the shade under,
Yeah.
but for our children and grandchildren, hopefully they'll reap the benefits.
And no matter what the answer is to Kirsten's question, if they've been here for their whole life, like Kirsten, I think you have, right?
Mhm.
That's a great start. I mean, that alone should bring up memories.
Yeah.
But then if it's not,
And for a
They
while,
came.
my answer was because God is making me. I didn't want to be here. I tried to leave and God kept pulling me back, even though this wasn't where I thought I needed to be spiritually. And so I think that's important to know too.
Right.
Sometimes the answer is God makes me come.
and the people that, found their way here, they made a choice, right? And so that should also bring up things in their mind, like why, revisit why you did that, and what have you experienced since you got here. So
Right.
I think that's a powerful,
The sense of,
Right.
this is what I've done here, this is what made me happy, and I would like for that to be available for the next. Because
right,
a bunch
yeah.
of us are done when we're done.
Terry, any other best practices you've seen? One question that came up, when we do the visits, we're planning on one person, one representative. Is there value in doing more than one representative, like having two people show up? That would double the workload, but I'm curious what your or anybody else's view on that is.
I was told to.
Yeah,
Generally,
Mine-
one person is great. Sometimes stewards will go with a spouse, particularly if they're going to a friend. And the couples are friends. Maybe they'll take a spouse, but one steward is enough for each visit.
Well, my understanding was for the congregational visits, it was 2 by 2.
yeah, that's what I gleaned from the information packet that we had.
Is there any problem with doing two stewards visitors?
There is not, as long as the person you're visiting doesn't feel overwhelmed by having two folks there.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And we can kind of make that call depending on the person that we're gonna talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my
And the
point,
steward, yeah.
I would at least want to go with someone
Maybe for the first or second
to
visit or
kinda-
whatever.
someone that's more familiar with asking, because I've never done this before.
Okay, that's fair.
That could be.
And that's where that powerful phrasing of join me, in inviting,
Yeah.
you're inviting them to join you. I think that's what you said, Terry, right? Invite.
That's right.
Yeah.
Invite you to join me in supporting the campaign. You can ask them to prayerfully consider their contribution. Those are good phrases to remember.
Great. Are there other things we want to cover with Terry? Or are we,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very good at schmoozing, and I can talk forever about Deerhurst and why I love it, or listen to people why they love it. But and so your point about what do we say, but transferring from that conversation into talking about the capital campaign and then doing the ask for a pledge, that would take practice for me to just be able to make that little bit of a jump. And is that something that we practice with one another to see how we do it, or how do we make ourselves comfortable to do that?
You should practice for sure. Practice with one another, pick up language from one another. Um, if it's helpful to go 2 by 2 with the most confident person making the taking the lead, and you can observe the first couple times and then take the lead the next time, and do what you need to do to really feel comfortable and confident, but practice ahead and become familiar with the language of the campaign, the language that's in the materials that you're going to be sharing. Be comfortable explaining the giving chart and the building project. Uh, just familiarize yourself with all that, and yes, practice so that you're really, really ready to go when you finally make the visit. The middle of the brochure that you have has a process, and it has some language to use. It says uh, how to make the ask. Uh, it also advises that once you've asked for the contribution, give them the pledge card, that you not say anything, that you give them a chance to receive the invitation and let them take the next step, whether that is to say, I'm ready to pledge, or not quite ready to pledge yet, but let them take the next step rather than it can be uncomfortable to sit in silence for a moment, but it's the right thing to do to give them a chance to think about their participation.
Terry, does church campaign services have any sample videos or anything like that? I'm such a YouTube nerd. I was just wondering if you
Yeah,
ever.
that's a
have you
great
done
idea.
that or
I've
thought
not
about
seen
that? I could think, yeah, I can speak to that.
I've not seen anything like that, but that would be a great resource.
I actually like the way Terry even phrased, the phrases that I'm focusing in on. I invite you to join me in supporting the campaign. I think those were the words, and there are words to that effect on that same page that we just read.
Keywords.
It isn't.
Yeah.
I will probably rewatch this recorded video to get the phrasing and the timing down that way, because that is it's not particularly pushy, and it sounds effective.
There's the middle part of the brochure that you handed out today from Church Campaign Services does have a nice little script and a step-by-step
Right.
what to do.
Terry probably wrote it.
That's
Did you write it?
I don't think I wrote it, but I think I've helped edit it a couple times. The next page after that page has a heading of Pleasant Dreams After All. It also gives you some language for how to respond to kind of, how do I know what to say when they say, I can't possibly give that much, or I'm angry about, or things are really tight right now. What do you say to those? And this helps you have some language for that. So you'll want to rehearse these and kind of familiarize yourself with the way to respond just for some of the things that may be said to you when you make your ask. And the last page is just a summary of kind of what we've talked about and some reminders along the way.
And practices the yes ladder on me a lot. And by the end of the yes ladder, I can't say no.
I don't practice it. I just have been pointing it out to him that it's like I'm getting him to say yes to something. Would you like ice cream? Yeah.
Yeah.
First you have to pledge, then you can have.
Dishwasher.
What am I
Okay.
gonna get out of it?
Wait, the way that I see this kind of unfolding on a a visitation basis is, like Terry mentioned, these are people that we see, that we know, that they are our friends,
Yes.
that we know. And so the conversation will probably start out very friendly. It's like it's very cold out. We had to shovel or something like that. But then at some point, it's helpful to be able to say, here's our expectations for what's going to happen today. So that, and then just let that sink in for a second, and then just let them know. We're going to discuss the capital campaign, and this is going to give you a chance to ask any questions of us or me that we might be able to help you answer. And I will also try and clarify our giving guide of what our expectations for you will be with this spring. I'm not going to ask you for money today unless you've already been prayerfully considering this, in which case your pledge card is here. I would be glad to take it with me today if you want to think about it for a few
It will
days.
remain anonymous, put it in.
It will remain anonymous,
Nobody-
absolutely, absolutely. If not, and if you feel more comfortable turning it in on Pledge Sunday, that's fine. But just kind of setting that expectation, because sometimes it's hard going from that friendly conversation to, and by the way, I'm here to talk about pledging. It's like you want to make that conversion
Natural. Just
natural,
perfectly
natural, friendly. Just keep it friendly.
Regarding the.
They know
pledge-
why you're there.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
exactly,
right.
exactly.
They'll probably say, let's get to the bottom line here.
You know something? Some people.
Okay.
That's right. Some people are.
Let our
we call
bottom
those
line
people-
people.
we call those people
Right.
dragnet people. Just the facts, please.
Yeah.
Give me just the facts.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get to it.
Exactly. Get to it. Get to it.
There's my son. There's my son.
Andy, well, I was just.
The last thing I want you to be confident about is if someone says, I want to make a gift of stock or insurance or equities or cash, you don't necessarily have to be the person to answer those questions about how do I make a gift of stock or a gift for my IRA. But who would be the person to have them talk to?
Direct them to Linda Lemon.
Yeah,
Is that-
or me,
really?
Yeah,
co-chair, one of the
Yeah.
co-chairs,
yeah.
because we are setting up that brokerage account to accommodate all those things. And I have some experience there. too.
And if that happens, you say, great question. I know a guy, I know a girl.
I know who to send you
I'm
to.
referring to Dan.
Sure.
Refer to Linda?
Yes.
They're both working.
They're both.
It can be
Either
either
one.
one.
Either one. Yeah.
Sandy.
Yep, either one.
So that's really
Well-
nice to have that option.
Right,
So,
Right.
I know, Linda's very
yeah.
competent and
Oh,
very
yeah.
helpful
Yeah.
when it comes
Dan's
to.
not
We
bad.
we have, well, the only thing I would add is that we have not had that capability until now to accept stock. So
Oh, okay.
we'll have a conversation with Linda to make sure that she understands the steps, but
Right.
that's an
But certainly
easy,
the other kind of.
that's an
check
easy,
start.
yeah, it's an easy conversation. Terry, do you have any issue if somebody at the visit whips out their checkbook and writes that big number? I mean, I'm not troubled by it, the visiting stewards collecting that check. That's a control point, right? I would want to make sure that it works its way back to Linda.
So.
If they want to write a check, they're writing it to the church.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cash is more problematic, right?
Is there a separate?
cash would be more problematic.
But is there a separate account?
There absolutely is a
Yes.
separate account.
But if
And it's
people-
called something, you write the check to?
Well, it would be Deerhurst.
Deerhurst, but it'll be indicated that it's for the capital.
In the
Yeah.
memo.
In the memo line, I would put
But-
capital campaign.
But they're also, if somebody wants to give cash, we'll have a venue set up where they can do
Right,
that.
they
too.
can,
Cause I had
they
that,
can.
somebody has brought that up.
yeah, I would prefer not that they give the cash to the steward. at that
Right.
moment.
No, right, no, but there still would be an avenue figured out how they would get it and direct
We
it
take cash
to the
every day.
church.
So in other words, the onus is on the giver then to indicate specifically, this is, as opposed, this is for my pledge, just because it's the same account. This is for my pledge as opposed to this is for the capital campaign. Am I
Correct. But
understanding
there's going
correctly?
to be pledge cards.
Well,
But,
Yeah,
but yes,
you're right.
right, on the check.
so I read, yeah, so when I read my
Annual-
check,
Annual campaign,
I
yeah.
have to say, dear Linda, this goes for blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
Yes,
I know, okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of critical in my head,
yeah.
relative to thinking about how we manage those two separate entities. And I thought maybe there would be a seperate account, but there's
How-
not.
We as the church or we as the individuals, how we
How
manage
we have, how a donor,
a donor.
a
would-
donor,
okay.
and then therefore the accounting. How-
Yeah,
how-
well, let me just
so-
say, the funds are not gonna be commingled,
No.
because that's your point, Sandy, if it's
Well,
all going in one
right.
place.
So when a church just comes into Deerhurst Presbyterian Church, where does Linda put it?
It should be marked somewhere, or it
Well,
should
no,
be,
that has to be really made
Well,
like
up
really
until this
there.
point, if you made a pledge, she knows that it's going into
the annual.
Sandy Mundir's there, for the annual pledge.
Mhm.
But for something new, you're right, that when you're writing a separate check for the capital campaign now,
Mhm.
we're gonna have to have
To
some
make sure that
indication.
there is, okay.
Yeah,
So now,
And-
will there also be like in Breeze, Breeze, you can go into Breeze and
Yeah.
say, give now, there's gonna be one that says X for capital
I believe
campaign?
so.
There already is,
Is there?
and that's what I'm using.
But there's also,
Okay.
Linda will have full details on how much you pledged for your stewardship campaign
Yeah.
versus what you pledged.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, supposing I sit down, I write a check for $500 and I give it to Linda, how does she know?
She would be able to look at your thing and say, well, you give.
Well, she'll ask
Well,
you,
but-
but she doesn't
I
know.
don't think
so
she
I
doesn't
don't
know.
know.
But I mean,
Well,
it's-
we're
In
not-
my
I
experience,
just don't want it to.
these are
to be
good questions for
confusion.
Linda, we can
This
ask
is-
tomorrow.
This
In my
is,
experience,
Yeah.
Linda is incredibly meticulous and
well, she
thoughtful
is.
about making sure every check that comes in is not only from the person, and if she doesn't know where it's designated,
Mhm.
she's always asking Jill, myself, or reaching out to the individual to make sure.
Well, okay,
I
that's
have a
fair.
lot
I
of
think
confidence
that
in Linda.
I think as it kicks off,
Yeah.
that it really is critical.
So right now, I started in January on the Breeze app. My tithe goes through one section and my pledge to the capital campaign goes to another.
Okay, and there's definitely that box there that says
Yeah.
capital campaign.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So I did have
Also,
that,
when you get a giving statement saying this is how much you've given to the church, you can make sure that's correct because she can always move things,
Right.
within the accounts.
Around.
Yeah,
so you will have materials. I didn't know I brought this, but instead of Big Wheels Bike Club, it'll say Deerhurst, under one row.
Oh,
I
really?
know, yeah. A pledge card will be in here. We'll have a brochure, but not that one. There'll be the fact sheet and the giving charts will be in there. So that'll be something that you'll have to
give,
take
to give.
with you.
Oh, so they'll put some photos of the.
Yeah.
Is that where the?
That'll
photos
be in
are?
the brochure material is my intention.
In there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
instead of this brochure, we'll have our brochure for it, but it'll, okay?
right.
It'll have pictures of the roof repair needed or the brick repair,
yeah.
okay?
Okay, good.
And,
That's really cool.
That's really good.
and
Really
or I like Dan's suggested idea of having them available if you want to bring it on your own iPad to just make it bigger,
Right.
life size, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Anne, what is the timeline to accomplish these phases?
Frank and I are first working on I'm sorry for throwing your name out there, but it's just like we're getting the household cards organized. And he's kind of taken on that task. So while he's doing that, I'm going to be working on these print materials. So they need to be done as soon as we can start. I mean, we need to have those cards done so that we know who we're going to. And so that's my deadline, is to get it done soon. I think within a week or less. But because I know that Mark has a deadline that he wants to start moving and shaking and getting to people, so.
My question is, March 15th is our big kickoff brunch /
Yeah.
will the congregational stewards be going out after March 15th? Yes. Okay. Okay.
Oh, so this, I mean,
So we've got some time to work and practice and do some stuff like that and figure out who's gonna
After
talk
March
to who.
There's two phases, Sandy. There's the leadership phase where it's silent. So that we're gonna go out as representatives, and you can choose, some of you are probably more comfortable doing the congregation.
Right.
And it's probably what Kirsten and Scott may have asked you to be
Right,
part
right.
of. But the other part is for people that will be going in, meeting one-on-one and saying like, here's what level can you give at? And there's a giving chart, which I wish I had printed out and had an example, but it has $10,000 gift, you know, on up to $50,000. Where do you see
this
yourself
happened
fitting?
before March 15th, right? The visits.
Some of
The
them do.
congregation.
But not the congregation, the leader.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Happened
but
before March 15th.
want everyone to feel connected, every
Oh, of course,
person
yes,
connected.
absolutely.
So that's where we call it congregational gifts, to kind of break it out where maybe it's more the 4-digit amount versus a 5-digit amount of a pledge. So there's two phases. We're explaining at the same time.
And so at March 15th, at the brunch, I see us announcing that we're gonna invite people to join us. We're gonna say the same thing, and then those people are gonna be visited again with the same phrase. And we're inviting you to join in support of the campaign. But at the 15th, we're gonna announce what the dollar amount is that has been pledged from the leadership
So far.
gift
Oh, from
campaign.
this.
Well,
From that.
This covers both, though, really. It's
Okay, I was
the
thinking,
guide,
I
yeah, the
was thinking
guidance
of
is,
specifically
yeah.
the leader.
no, this is really good guidance for
Right.
Oh,
both
yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
But we're gonna announce a number.
Mhm.
And we don't, and that's gonna be a surprise, to be honest with you. And then hopefully it's significant enough that people will say, wow, this is for real. I want to be part of it and help get us over the finish line. But to Terry's feasibility study earlier, you know, that it's not a slam dunk. I mean, Terry had come up with a lower number for what we should be shooting for, and we are shooting for a higher number. And so there is work to be done, and we want to make it inspiring for people to join.
Right.
Will there be?
I admire your faith and commitment.
Thank you.
We'll let you know how it goes.
It's going to go great.
Terry,
Thank
I wanted to say, I'd like to invite you to join us in supporting our capital campaign.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
I'm saying that in jest because Terry's already,
The literature to you.
Terry has been a good help to us. I'm kidding there, Terry.
Yes.
I just a quick question or comment. A couple times when people are talking about the pitch to the leadership and then possibly the congregation, the word expectation, the noun, it's our expectation that pull out the chart. Should that be a different word? Should it be like our hope, our desire? Expectation's a little.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I would say we should not use that word. I mean,
Right.
Model, more like a model than.
this is an invitation.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself fitting on this giving chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
good
Just
point.
asking them.
Yeah,
to think
language
about
is
that.
very important.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think like, I definitely am going to be listening to this again. So there's a lot of key points here. Go ahead, Julian.
Looking through the pamphlet, I have a question. They address like if people push back when you're talking about the money, but what if in just setting up the phone call, people push back and they don't want to visit? Do you just say, okay, that's not a problem, and we'll just get you a pledge card? Or what if you're cut off even at the
Yeah.
we want to meet with you phase of it? I'm not seeing anything to address that. It goes right into during the visit.
Yeah.
And
May I drop off some materials at your house? You don't want to have a visit. I have some materials I'd like to drop off at your house. Could I just put them in your box? That work?
That's a good action step.
Kind of.
Terry, what's your thought there? I like what Sandy just said.
That was great, Sandy, and you may encounter that. It's probably not an indication that they're going to support the campaign. So offering them materials is probably the most that you can do. We want to invite every member and friend of the congregation to participate, regardless of the amount that they are able to pledge to the campaign ultimately, or some will not be able to pledge at all. But we don't want anyone to say, well, no one asked me to give.
Yeah.
Fair,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
fair.
And that's, you raise a very valid point. And if that does happen, and if we are going to stop by and drop stuff off,
Mhm.
it would be really, really nice if you could word it in such a way that, can I put this into your hands? It's, if you can meet them there, even if you're just gonna hand them the
Yeah.
information,
Figure it
you
out.
can, yeah, but we want them, we want a face to face, even if it's a 30 second, so that you can kind of share your excitement with this project. And getting back to the invitation term,
Mhm.
you know, this is your invitation to join us in the capital campaign.
Right, and we haven't talked about this either, but Terry, my expectation, here's an expectation, is that the stewards would at least take a little bit of notes as to who they met, when, and what the outcome was. You know, I called them on the phone and they declined. Something like that, just so that we have a record, because in some of those cases, I could see an escalation. Okay, you know, they couldn't get through, or they were put off. Okay, well, then we may have it, we may try a different direction, right? We may try them a different way. Not in a bad way, but just to make sure that they are invited more than once to join.
Sure.
Mhm.
My goal
That's
is.
a great point.
Okay, go ahead, Terry. Do you have any other response?
No, I think that's great. You do want to communicate back when you've made your visit, or if you haven't been able to make a visit, there are options, and the folks who are organizing the stewards can brainstorm that and problem shoot and figure out what to do.
Terry, the household cards, is that what they're, are those something like I envision that maybe on the back side it's blank, their information and contact is on the front, but on the back could notes be written like
Sure.
or
Yeah,
is
as
there
long as
some,
they get back to the folks who are making the assignments.
okay.
And could you explain what you?
So in the
that.
materials, there's something written up, household cards. And so that I pictured them as index cards that have Mark and Ann Farah, Dustin Farah's a son lives with them, 58 Woodcrest, phone number, has that contact. And then indicates, I think that there's categories, pledges, so I give annually. And then there's one about attendance, and it's like regular attender versus non-attender.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
that would be
or
specifically for
so
the
it's
visitor.
for the. I took it that it's something that the stewards get as a tool
Yeah.
to use,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
the leaders,
Right. The visitor, yes.
Scott,
Yeah.
Kirsten, Dan, and Mark will get to say, okay, here's how we're going to break out the congregation. You guys, you take these, you take those, and you've got the rest. So it's like that's what I envisioned it was. What do you got,
I
Frank?
was gonna say, this is just a spitballing draft.
Here, come on up so that.
Well, I was gonna talk to you for 5 minutes. Ann.
Well, that's all right.
But
This is good.
the thought that taking a picture, I
Now I was thinking it was the pledge card, but
Putting
this is
the information like people, but we need to talk about the coding and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We just-
it'll be a file card.
So
Can I say one more thing too, for all the stewards, one of the things you will not receive is any information, and I think this is a good thing, you won't get
you're in front
information
of
as
the
to
screen for.
what that particular individual pledges to the church today.
That's right.
That's kept confidential. There is,
Yes.
that's not something that's ever shared at meetings or anything like that. This is, how much do I give every week?
Oh,
That sort of thing.
nobody's gonna know that.
Right.
That's not on those cards. There's
My
nothing
point in
like that.
saying that is so that you guys know, and you can communicate that. We
Yeah.
don't know what you pledge, we don't know what you give every month. We just go into a meeting, there could be an expectation that, they must know already what I give.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think you can be honest with them and say,
Yeah,
Right.
that's nothing that gets shared with
Right,
the church.
right.
yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah, and so it still becomes just an invitation to join me, to, that, you've already identified, you've already made and indicated a pledge. And so that's why you're able to say, all right, I'm in, I'm all in.
Right.
And I'm gonna invite you to be a part of this.
And whatever they do pledge is not judgeable, right? We're not gonna judge good or
We're
bad.
grateful, we're
Because we
just
don't-
grateful.
We don't have any basis to say that's high or low.
What if they happen to ask, what are you pledging?
I-
Just because maybe they want to get an idea
Sure.
of what,
I think that's gonna be up to the individual steward. I would say yes,
Yes. Right, yes,
And I
because
think that's a really fair question, happens regularly.
yeah,
How much are you, what are
Yeah,
you putting in the
yeah, yeah.
pot?
What are you doing?
How much are you putting in?
yeah,
Not, I mean, not
Yeah.
necessarily about this, but about other
Yeah,
things, generally amenities fund or whatever. How
Yeah.
much did you put in the envelope?
so you would
I
feel,
would share.
you would share, okay,
Okay.
okay,
But that's an individual decision.
Mhm.
right.
The fact that they ask that question probably indicates that there's some pretty close friendship there. You wouldn't ask someone you didn't know well, what are you giving?
And I'd actually tell them the right number, I wouldn't tell them.
Kirsten, you were gonna say something?
Even for myself and thinking what I was going to pledge and what I am going to pledge. I had a number in mind and then I saw the Deerhurst 2000 and it said 5%. And my understanding was 5% of what I earn given over 3 years. It's like, oh, well, I can do that. And I upped my number just a little bit. And then I saw the 3% every year and I had a minor heart attack. I won't buy. But I did the math and still think I could figure that out. I still think I could be able to do that. And so I think if we are able to be as honest as we can in our, not willing to be, but comfortable being, that we understand that not everybody has the ability to make a $10,000
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
donation
Right.
and anything that you can give.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
And we're out
That's fair.
to
That's-
maintain
Right.
friendships. We're not out to,
right, lose
make
members.
people feel
Yeah.
put upon or anything like
Right,
that.
yeah, and so I think one of the questions in Terry's book says, what happens if we don't make that goal? And so that again, we have several backup plans. And if we come really close, which that's my anticipation, is we're either going to meet the goal, exceed the goal, or come really, really close. And Mark and Dan and the Capital Campaign Committee have a backup plan, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to ask for a loan or so, like that. So,
Mhm.
and then the next step is if we don't even come that close, then Mark and B&G have a backup plan where instead of going to that metal roof that they really want, it'll become an asphalt roof instead of the slate. So there's always contingencies that are ready at the go. But to answer it, we want to go forward for the $550,000 amount.
Before stewards go out,
Yeah.
I would like to be able to say, when I make my call, we already have X amount pledged. Can we do
Yes,
that?
that's because at March
Really,
15th,
really is significant.
at March 15th, we're gonna announce at a whole congregational meeting at Classic Spot.
And we're not gonna be going out
What's
before, as a congregational steward, we won't be going out before March 15th.
But the leadership stewards will. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Okay, so is there a
So,
number that we could share then already X
if-
amounts of
There's
pledged?
a metric, which Terry has said, the leadership phase, we're looking to gain 70 or 75% of the goal in the leadership phase. What do you use nowadays, Terry? 70, 75?
You said 75 to 80.
75 to 80?
75, 80.
Do I hear 90? No, what is your guidance on that, Terry? What would you say?
I think if you can get to 80, that's wonderful. I think 20% from the congregation is doable.
Thank you. So that's what the leadership is. Leadership is 10,000.
No, who are the leaders? Like the elders?
Dan and I are going to figure that out. We're going to sit
Oh.
down because we're the campaign chairs and we're going to go over the list and we're going to determine based on things that we've talked to with Linda Lemon and Pastor Micah, who fits in that category.
Uh-huh.
And so it's already started, it's already kind of mulling and underway. but everybody's gonna be asked. So, I mean, there might be somebody in the congregation that ends up moving up to be, you know, a higher pledge than anticipated, but we want to start and have that seed money indicated so that on the March 15th, that everybody's excited because we've already have a good chunk of it already taken care of.
I want to be able to say.
We also
you're-
want to include
early.
in that early phase before the stewards go out, that the session has all pledged, the campaign committee has already pledged.
Okay,
Regardless of the size of their gift, we want to be able to say the session is fully behind this and every session member has made a pledge.
Sandy and Alan, that's pretty much like where we're starting. Okay, who are already the leaders
Yeah, there are,
in the
to
church.
Terry's point, there are three main groups. Mark and I just recently talked about this. Where a list has been developed, the draft list. It's the members of this committee, the capital campaign committee. It is the session members. And then there are other people that I feel, you know, are connected to the church and may be in a position to do that. And those are people that we will ask and invite them to join us supporting the campaign. I love that phrase.
Can you give me a timeline? I'm confused.
Sure.
I'm confused about what happens before March 15th, not a whole lot of detail. I had thought
Yeah,
that
there are,
the stewards went out to the leader people before March 15th. Is
Yeah,
that
that
correct?
is correct.
And then after March 15th is the congregational
different.
bit.
Yeah, so think of it this way. Two sets of stewards.
Yes,
There are
okay.
leadership stewards and there are congregational stewards.
Fine.
The leadership stewards, which are Mark and myself and a couple other folks, to be finalized. We'll go out and do our work before March 15th. And then the second set of visiting stewards will do their work after March 15th and before April 12th.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. I
Yeah.
just really.
So the
needed that.
leadership stewards are trying to get that 70, 75, 80%.
Yep, I heard 80.
They're, and then the congregational stewards are trying to get that final 20% or
20
something.
plus. If there is, I mean, the good news here is that if there is, God willing, an overage in excess of $550,000 raised, there are more things that we can do with that money, including, you know, a higher allocation to our mission efforts. So.
And as we practice this message, which we will be doing in the upcoming weeks, so that you're not just gonna go out there blind. Everybody's, and I will be leading those things where and it's a safe learning environment. We get comfortable with our words, just so that, you know, and different scenarios. Well, how much you giving? Or, well, I'm really angry about the fact that this wasn't done earlier, which actually came up in one of the discussions.
Right.
Well, we just need to know like how to respond to that. And we'll practice it. And there is, you know, I'm a very easy teacher. So, and we'll make it fun, we'll make it light, but you will be prepared when you go into those situations so that you will have a certain level of confidence that you can go out and talk to people.
Scott, you're gonna do that separately under a separate time slot
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
With.
And it may be more than one time slot, just depending on
Okay.
people's stuff.
So,
And Scott, let me know and I'm more than willing to help with that.
Absolutely, thank you.
point of clarification, does everybody get a visit, whether they're a leader or in the leader group or the congregation group?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Okay, that's, all right, now that's.
Yeah. That's the goal.
And there are other people that we will mail to. Doug and Lynn Ports, I would like to mail to Doug and Lynn. I think they would probably support us with.
Rick and Cheryl New, who came up
People out of state.
for the 90th.
Yep.
Yep, so there are people, you know, we won't go see Doug and Lynn, but there are people like that.
The Boulders.
Yep.
Yep.
Some former members.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Extra
yeah.
We have a good pool from those that showed a lot of interest in the anniversary.
So I think,
Yeah.
you know, somebody who gets a letter, if they send $100 in, fantastic. You know,
Absolutely.
I think that, but it's $100 more than we would have got
That's
before.
Absolutely.
And it gives them
Correct.
the satisfaction of participating. Like, hey, I was part of it.
And I think of my daughters who Addie makes decent-ish money, so she's pledging, I don't even know, she hasn't told me, I'm not asking, whatever she's gonna pledge. Bella, who only makes $20,000 a year right now, just starting her business, has said, of course I'll pledge. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not asking, she's not telling me how much,
Right.
but she said it'll be a yearly amount and she'll just save up through the year, but to reach out to those new adults who are just recently confirmed and
Yeah.
graduated. And,
Yeah, yeah.
In mind, 3% for them is a couple $100.
yeah,
Yeah, for someone making 20,000.
yeah.
You know that Jen lives in Southern California and her house was not gone, but she had a lot of repair work. I sent her the copy of the case statement. She thought the amount was very reasonable.
Good
to hear.
Good.
And this is a gal who just would show a whole lot of contractual kinds of things.
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
I know a whole lot more about roofs than I ever saw. You know.
We all do.
All that.
We all do. We all do.
That's excellent.
But the amount was very fair.
Yeah.
The dollar figure.
If you are talking to someone and you get into some wonky situations where they want specifics about materials and stuff like that, I would not hesitate to say, you know something, I think you should talk to Mark Farah.
Yep.
Because
You need to see it because I'm your friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I just am excited about this. and I
Right.
want you to be excited too.
Yep.
That's it.
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
absolutely. That's a
That's
very
great,
successful
Danny.
approach.
That's
good,
great.
good.
It's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of practice with
Yeah,
doing
that's
that.
right, that's right.
Hey, Terry, we just wanted to say thanks for spending the
Yeah,
time with us today.
This is
Thank you,
very.
Terry.
helpful.
My pleasure.
It worked as a, virtual session, so,
We certainly
Yeah,
did.
it's-
great.
and it's still only 7 degrees here, so
Gary,
not great.
question. So I was just looking over the household with Frank cards, and we have a list of members, non-members, and then guests, potential members. And so the guests are probably people that come infrequently, I think. Maybe they give or gave a gift, but would they get a letter? Or, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily see that we need to visit them, right?
Well,
Okay,
I think you can decide
okay, it
based,
depends.
based on, how they're related to the church.
Right.
I think it's going to be your call.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think that's the type of thing that we'll be working out as a team.
And
Yeah, 'cause
something like
There are
that.
people
We're
deeply connected that aren't
active and-
necessarily members
Yeah,
that are definitely connected enough that might would be.
right, that we might want to,
Yeah.
And I'd love to drop something off to you, and if you got 5 minutes. I'll
Okay.
sit.
okay, all right, that
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah.
All right,
This, I don't care if I drink twice a year.
okay, all right, so.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do I stop the recording or make sure I get the recording? Okay,
Um,
pause.